dear students, welcome to the second video on Ways with Words. We started with Sonnet 29 and we discussed a lot of things. In fact, we discussed the history of sonnets. We also had not a detailed one but a quick discussion or an understanding of Shakespeare and his days or his period. I did also tell you to bear two things in mind, two important things in mind. I hope you do remember those two important aspects or two important points that are very much relevant to our poem Sonnet 29. And what are they? They are: one, the emotional state of the poet, the present emotional state of the poet is because of a scathing comment by Robert Greene, and also because of the outbreak of plague in 1592, which led to the theatres being shut down, and therefore Shakespeare was plunged into poverty. He became jobless, he became impoverished. Okay, he was engulfed by poverty. All right, so let's move on to the poem. Let's start with the first quatrain. I also told you about Shakespearean quatrains. Shakespearean sonnets are divided into three quatrains and one couplet. So what are quatrains? One quatrain consists of 4 lines, right? And we have 3 quatrains and one couplet. Couplet means 2 lines. So totally we have a 14-line lyric. Okay, so the first quatrain, so if you look at the quatrains, 3 quatrains are presented before you, and it is in these quatrains, in these 3 quatrains, that you find the problem. The first quatrain introduces the problem of the poet, and the second and the third quatrain tells you more about the emotional state and also the problems that he is facing, and eventually, that is by the couplet, when you look at the couplet, it shows a resolution or consolation. The poem ends with a consolation and the problems are all resolved. Okay, so the first quatrain: when in disgrace with fortune and men's eyes, I all alone beweep my outcast state, and trouble deaf heaven with my bootless cries, and look upon myself and curse my fate. So the poem opens revealing or showing the mood of the poet. And what is the mood of the poet that is presented in the first quatrain? He is in a state of despondency. Now, what is despondency? Despondency means depression, sadness, sorrow, worry, and so on. So he is sad and he feels that he has been disgraced. So what does it mean by to be disgraced? To be made shamed, or he is shamed in front of people. Somebody has made fun of him, and therefore he is disgraced in front of other people and others' eyes. So see the first line, the word, look at the word in the first line: when in disgrace with fortune and men's eyes. Fortune, the word fortune tells you or implies that the present situation that he is in is not his fault. It is something that is beyond him, and that is the fate of Shakespeare, or the fate that the present situation that he is being forced into, which is not his fault. Okay, so now another thing about fortune. What is fortune? What is the meaning of fortune? Fortune means wealth. Fortune means good luck, right? So good luck, wealth, health, wealth, all these things, health to an extent is in our hands, but the coming of wealth and all and good luck is not in our hands. Good fortune, that is to do with fate. Correct? So he is disgraced in front of whom? He is disgraced in front of fortune, lady luck. That is, he is not benefited by good luck, and he is also disgraced in front of men's eyes. Now, men's eyes, what does this mean? Men's eyes. Men's eyes is a reference to being shamed in front of the society. Now, I want you to recollect those two things that I told you in the beginning. I did tell you that the theatres being shut down due to the outbreak of plague left him jobless, and he was impoverished. He did not have money at all. He was engulfed by poverty. Okay, so he did not have any means to livelihood. He did not have any means to earn his bread. Okay, so he was engulfed by poverty. Another thing is he is disgraced in front of men's eyes. So this men's eyes here is a reference to Robert Greene and his scathing comment, okay, which called Shakespeare an upstart crow beautified by our feathers. We'll be discussing that a little more in detail as we move on. So he is sad, and he tells us that it is not, and is it his fault? No. വിധിയുടെ ഒരു ക്രൂര വിളയാട്ട് എന്നൊക്കെ പറയുന്ന പോലെയാണ്. We cannot control our fate. Fate is not in our hands. Whether we believe in God, whether we don't believe in God, but fate and what comes to us tomorrow, what happens to us tomorrow is not in our hands. Right? So likewise, this being disgraced in front of fortune, and fortune is not his fault. It is not his fault that an outbreak of plague, like we have the present scenario right now, we have our pandemic. Now what happened? You are all at home, you are learning your lessons online instead of coming here to college, enjoying your college life. You're forced to sit at home and study. You're forced to sit at home and take your online class. Was it in our hands? No, it is not. It just happened. So certain things are not in our hands. We cannot predict our future. What happens to us tomorrow, we cannot predict, and it is not our fault. So likewise, to Shakespeare, the outbreak of plague was not in his hands, and as a result, being a playwright, what did he do? He was a playwright. He used to sell his plays and thereby earn his livelihood. Now that the theatres are all shut, nobody is there, the theatres are shut, nobody is there to buy his plays, and therefore he is now jobless, and he is sitting at home. It is at this present time that he decides to write sonnets also. It was a time when he sat at home jobless, that he actually started writing sonnets, and some of his important plays also were written during this time. Okay, so moving on to the next line, I all alone beweep my outcast state. Now before I move on to the next line, let me come again to men's eyes. Look at the word men's eyes. Now what is men's eyes here? Men's eyes, what is the figure of speech here? The figure of speech is synecdoche. Now what is synecdoche? Synecdoche means it is a figure of speech which refers to a part of a whole. It is a reference to, or it is a representation of a small part of a big whole. Okay, big. For example, your eyes. Your eyes are a part of your whole, the whole body. Right? So when I say the lovers were glued, their eyes were glued to each other, it means it is a reference to the lovers. It does not mean their eyes alone. It is a reference that two eyes met Who are the two eyes that would meet? Obviously two lovers who would be looking at each other, right? Kannum kannum നോക്കിയിരുന്നു അല്ലേ? അതിലപ്പോൾ that is a reference to synecdoche. Another example would be look at my brand, check out my brand new wheels. Now if you say check out my brand new wheels, that brand new wheels, wheel is a part of a car, right? So you are referring to having bought a new car and you are asking your friend to check out your new car. You bought a new car and you are asking him to come, or him or her to come and look at your new car. So wheel is a part of what? Wheel is a part of the whole car. So synecdoche is a part of a whole. Okay, so men's eyes. Now what is men's eyes here? Men's eyes is a reference to people, the society. Okay, he has been disgraced in front of the society. So men's eyes is a reference to the society. So that is why it is a part of a whole, the society, eyes. It is a reference to man. So here again it is poetry. So man's eyes, reference to society where he has been shamed. Okay, by whom? By Robert Greene. I all alone beweep my outcast state. So he is in an outcast state. He feels lonely, he feels sad, and he feels like an outcast. Now who is an outcast? Outcast is one who is banished from a society. Like for instance a beggar, a criminal, who cannot be considered a part of a good society. That is an outcast. Now see, remember, there is a difference between outcast and outcast with an E. This is outcast without an E, O-U-T-C-A-S-T, whereas outcast, O-U-T-C-A-S-T-E, refers to an Indian society, the hierarchy of the Indian society, the social system, the social caste system. That is, outcast is a person who does not belong to a particular caste, like Dalits, for instance. So that is outcast. That is different. That is different from this outcast. Here the outcast here is without the E, O-U-T-C-A-S-T. So that is a reference to like people who cannot be considered a part of the good society, good community, which is actually a reference to criminals. You can't have murderers or thieves as, you know, you don't feel like, you don't trust them. You always look upon them with doubts, right? So, or suspicion. So they are always people who cannot be considered a part of your good society, a beggar, like that. So here Shakespeare also, now that he has lost his job, now that he is engulfed by poverty and he has been disgraced in front of people, what did Robert Greene say about Shakespeare? He called Shakespeare a thief. He called him, or he stated that Shakespeare used to steal plays and copy others' plays and make his plays, and therefore people saw him as a person who cannot be trusted, and therefore he is now feeling really sad and depressed by it. It hurt Shakespeare a lot. Now that was not, everything was not true about what Robert Greene said, okay, because Robert Greene actually was very much jealous of Shakespeare's growing popularity. So he, though, yeah, of course Shakespeare did take plays from here and there. Some of his plays were based on several historical writings, travelogues. Some were of this university wits itself, who used to come together, who used to sit in Robert Greene's office and discuss plays. But we cannot say that Shakespeare alone is the culprit, because in those days it was somewhat similar to that. Back in the days of 16th century, all of them did the same. So you can't say that Shakespeare is one who copied a play. What he did was he used to take bits from here and there, merge it together and make it into a brand new play, which was totally different from the plays that he had perhaps taken. So you cannot completely say that what Robert Greene said was all true. Okay, so it is out of jealousy. Greene was green with envy. What is green? Normally we say green color is to do with jealousy. Okay, so green with envy, green with jealousy, and that's why he spoke all these things about Shakespeare. Anyway, it hurt Shakespeare a lot, and therefore he is sad. The sonnet 29 was written in a state of despondency, in a state of despair, in a state of depression. He's totally depressed about his situation, and he's crying, I all alone beweep my outcast state. Now this beweep, what do you mean by beweep? Beweep means weep, cry in such a way that one cannot be consoled. Okay, so he beweeps his outcast state. So he is in such a state that he is disgraced in front of the society. He cannot be made a part of a good society, and therefore he cries out. He pours his heart out and he cries out. He is all alone. He thinks that nobody is there to take care of him. Nobody is there. Nobody likes him. What happens to us in a state of depression? When we are depressed and when we are sad, we feel that the whole world has turned against us. We don't even try to see anything in a positive sense. We always see everything in a negative sense, isn't it? So just like that, Shakespeare also is feeling very depressed about his present situation, and he feels that nobody likes him. He's hated by everybody. Okay, and therefore he sits alone and he cries about this present state of his outcast state. Okay, and trouble deaf heaven with my bootless cries. And trouble deaf heaven with my bootless cries. Now what is deaf heaven? Heaven is being given lifelike quality. Now what is that figure of speech which gives lifelike quality to inanimate objects, to non-living things? Yes, personification, right? So deaf heaven is personification. The figure of speech used here is personification. Heaven is deaf. All right. So it is also, you can also take it as what? Synecdoche if you want. Okay, it's a part. God rests there. So it's a part of where God is resting. And therefore you can also take it as a synecdoche if you want. But it's personification, mostly personification. So he troubled deaf heaven with his bootless cries. So what is bootless? Bootless means futile, the useless. He is crying and crying, but God seems to be not hearing his prayers. God is deaf. The heavens are deaf. So heaven is given a lifelike quality, human being, as though heaven does not want to hear the prayers prayed by Shakespeare. I'm not going to listen to you. That's that kind of attitude. So he troubles, he keeps on praying to God, but God does not seem to be listening to Shakespeare's prayers. But here there is also an allusion to the book of Job. Many Christians, if there are any Christians, they would be, you would know the book of Job in the Bible, Iyobinte pusthakam. Adile Job is considered what? As a man who Job was innocent, right? ഒരു തെറ്റും ചെയ്യാത്തൊരു മനുഷ്യനായിരുന്നു. പക്ഷേ ദൈവത്തിൽ പൂർണ്ണമായി വിശ്വസിച്ചു. പക്ഷേ എന്താണ് തിരിച്ചു കിട്ടിയത്? ഇയ്യോബിനെ നന്നായിട്ട് ദൈവം പരീക്ഷിക്കാനായിട്ട് നോക്കി. പരീക്ഷണത്തിലെല്ലാം ഇയ്യോബിന് എല്ലാം നഷ്ടമായി. എന്നിട്ട് കൂടിയും ദൈവത്തിന് എഗെയിൻസ്റ്റ് ആയിട്ട് ഒന്നും പറഞ്ഞില്ല. ഹി കെപ്റ്റ് ഓൺ പ്രേയിങ് ടു ഗോഡ്. And eventually everything was restored. Job got back everything that God was very happy with him and gave him everything. But there was a time taken for God to answer his prayers. He kept on praying. He was an innocent person. So likewise, Shakespeare also here is innocent. He did not do anything. He has not done anything wrong. So he also, like Job, keeps praying to God, but God seems to be not listening to his prayers. Okay, and he is crying his bootless cries. Bootless cries is a reference to useless cries or useless. His prayers are unanswered. Okay. And look upon myself and curse my fate. And what does he do? He look upon himself. He look upon himself and curse his fate. He feels really sad about what has happened. He feels so sad that everything is going out of his hands. And he is disgraced in front of the society. He is impoverished, and that is not his fault at all. And he feels extremely sad that he does not have anybody, nobody likes him, and God has also forsaken him. ദൈവവും കൈ ഒഴിഞ്ഞു എന്നുള്ളൊരു മട്ടം. Okay, and he is therefore really totally depressed, depressed and dejected mood. So the first quatrain introduces the poet's mood. What is the poet's mood here? The poet's mood is that of despondency, depression, okay, sangadam, nirasha. അതാണ് ആദ്യത്തെ ക്വാട്രെയിൻ. ക്വാട്രെയിൻ എത്ര വരികളാണ്? 4 lines. Okay, the quatrain one quatrain has 4 lines. So first quatrain is over, and what is the first quatrain telling us? The first quatrain introduces us to the mood of the poet or the poem. All right. Okay, so now let's just look at some of the poetic devices once more. The first one, fortune. You can look at fortune as a metaphor. Metaphor because fortune is about wealth, fortune is about lady luck, it is about Shakespeare not having wealth, Shakespeare not having the financial status. So that can be considered as a metaphor. Men's eyes. What is men's eyes? The figure of speech used there is synecdoche. What is synecdoche? Synecdoche is the literary a figure of speech which is used to represent a part of a whole. Like for instance, eyes. Kannum kannum നോക്കിയിരുന്നു. The 2 eyes glued under the tree. Okay, glued under the tree, the 2 eyes glued under the tree. Who are the 2 people who would be sitting there looking at each other, glued to their stuck and that too sitting under the tree? The lovers, of course. So the eyes is a reference to the lovers. Look at my brand new wheels, check out my brand new wheels. Instead of saying brand new car, you say brand new wheels. So the wheels is a part of the whole, that is the car, a part of the car. So that's a reference to what? Car. So men's eyes is a reference to the society. It's a part of a whole, men's eyes. Okay, and then what does it again refer to? Of course, since it is poetry, you have to go a little more furthermore than the literary meaning. So men's eyes is a reference to what? Reference to the society. Clear? And then I all alone beweep my outcast state. Now beweep my outcast state, you don't have to, I'll just, out of curiosity I'll tell you, that's a hyperbole. What's a hyperbole? Hyperbole is exaggeration. Exaggeration is hyperbole. Okay, I will love you for thousands of years. So what is this thousands of years? Husband says to his wife, whatever happens, darling, I will love you for thousands of years. How can a person live for 1,000 years? No. So what is thousands of years? I will love you for thousands of years means it is a hyperbole, it is an exaggeration. Likewise here also, I all alone beweep my outcast state. So I am all alone. No, the whole world has turned against me. Nobody likes me. I am all alone. That may not be true. That is his state of mind, his depression that is making him state all these things. So that is an exaggeration, hyperbole. It is to be pronounced hyperbole, okay, not hyperbola or hyperbole. It is different. Hyperbole with an E. L-E. Okay, it's a figure of speech. Hyperbole is a figure of speech. I hope you got the pronunciation. Hyperbole. The other one is synecdoche. Synecdoche. Clear? All right, and look upon myself and curse my fate. So there you will, we have finished the first quatrain. Deaf heaven is a personification. All right, and also if you look at this statement here, when in disgrace with fortune and men's eyes, when in disgrace with fortune and men's eyes, I all alone beweep my outcast state, and trouble deaf heaven with my bootless cries, and look upon myself and curse my fate. If you look at it, you will find, especially in the first one, when in disgrace with fortune and men's eyes, you will find the repetition of an E sound. That you have to be a little more careful. Now this is mostly for the BA English students. BCom students can also listen to it. There's no harm in listening to it, learning a new thing, okay? But you don't have to go further here. I'm telling the BA English students because you will have it in introducing literature. Introducing literature, you will have to study about this rhythm and vowel and poetic devices, the pentameter. I'll be telling you about the pentameter also. Now, so here you will find the repetition of E sound, the vowel E sound. When in disgrace with fortune and men's eyes, I all alone beweep my outcast state. Now, so there is an E sound here. So what is that repetition of the vowel sound called? You have studied that in your 10th standard, 12th, 11th and 12th also. What is it called? It is called assonance. Okay, assonance. All right. Alliteration. What is alliteration? Alliteration is the repetition of the consonants, the other than the vowels. The what are the vowels? A, E, I, O, U are the vowels. Of course, when it comes to phonetics, it is normally to do with the sound. Okay, the vowel sound. Other than the vowel sound, the rest of it are consonants. Now, what are the consonants? Repetition of consonants called? They are called alliteration. Whereas the repetition of vowels are known as assonance. So here you will find assonance. Okay, now let's move on to the most important one, and that is the rhyme scheme. What is the rhyme scheme of Shakespeare's sonnet? Rhyme scheme of Shakespeare's sonnet is A B A B, C D C D, E F E F, G G. ഉറക്കത്തെ വിളിച്ച് ചോദിച്ചാൽ ഇത് പറയണം, അത് മറക്കാൻ പാടില്ല. Okay, both the groups, BA and BCom, because this is a repeated question for your university exam and you will get 2 marks. Okay, all you have to do is just write down A B A B, C D C D, E F E F, G G. That's it. All right. So what is the rhyme scheme here? When in disgrace with fortune and men's eyes, I all alone beweep my outcast state, and trouble deaf heaven with my bootless cries, and look upon myself and curse my fate. Look at the last word of the first line, eyes. We will put A there, okay? And then, I all alone beweep my outcast state. Does eyes rhyme with state? No. So what will we do? We'll put a B there. And then, and trouble deaf heaven with my bootless cries. So, what does it rhyme with? Eyes, eyes and cries. So, another A. So, A, B, A. Okay. And look upon myself and curse my fate. State rhymes with fate. So, A, B, A, B. So, the first quatrain is over. All right. So, the rhyme scheme is done. The first quatrain is over.